Hello friends, today we are talking about yet very important topic under the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, and this topic deals with nullity of marriage under the Hindu Marriage Act. Now when we talk about the law of nullity under the Hindu Marriage Act, it deals with two things, void marriages and voidable marriages. Now section 11 and section 12 of the Hindu Marriage Act that deals with void marriages and voidable marriages. Before we come to section 11 or section 12 of the Hindu Marriage Act, now one very important thing which needs to be discussed is that whenever we will talk about the grounds of the void marriage or a voidable marriage, now largely these grounds they are associated with section 5 of the Hindu Marriage Act. And section 5 of the Hindu Marriage Act that provides for certain essential conditions for the validity of a marriage. And remember that these are the conditions which will decide, the violation of which will decide that whether a marriage will be treated as a void marriage or a voidable marriage. See, very simple it is. If the conditions which are there under section 5, they are fully complied with by the parties, now that results into a valid marriage. But if the conditions they are violated by the parties, now in that case the marriage may result either into a void marriage or a voidable marriage. Now let's come to the void marriage now. Now, as I have told you, section 11 of the Hindu Marriage Act, it deals with void marriages. And now first, what is void marriage? Now, void marriage, it is considered to be no marriage at all in the eyes of law. Why we say it is a marriage, still we say it is a void marriage, or we are using the word marriage for this. So why we say it is a marriage? It is for the reason that the parties, they have undergone certain sort of ceremonies. That is why we say that it is a marriage. But it is not just enough that the parties, they undergone certain sort of ceremonies and they will become husband and wife, or the status of husband and wife will be given to them in the society. Now take for example, if the brother and sisters are there and if they perform certain ceremonies and they started to live as husband and wife, that do not designate them the status of husband and wife in the eyes of law or in the society as well. So it is the conditions which are there in section 5 which needs to be complied with. Only then a marriage that results into a valid marriage. Now coming to the grounds under section 11 on which a marriage can be termed as a void marriage or can be declared by the court as a void marriage. And the first ground here is section 5 clause 1, the violation of section 5 clause 1. And I have told you in the earlier lectures that after the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, it comes into force. Now the bigamous marriage, polygamous marriage, or the polyandry, they are abolished completely now. And now monogamy is the rule. And what is monogamy? Monogamy means one person, one spouse, one husband, one wife, one husband. This is the principle of monogamy. And section 5 clause 1, it says that neither party at the time of marriage should have a living spouse. Now there must not be a valid marriage subsisting at the time when a person enters into a marriage. And if the marriage is there and still having a valid marriage subsisting, a person goes through another marriage, that results into the offense of bigamy. And subsequently, now in that case, the marriage will be declared as a void marriage. This is your first ground. Now next ground is parties are within the prohibited degree relationship. Now section 5 clause 4 deals with that. Now there are certain close relationship which are there within the prohibited degree relationship, and the parties or the two persons, the husband and the wife, or the boy and the girl, they are prohibited, completely prohibited to marry within such a relation which falls within the prohibited degree relationship. despite that, even if they are within the prohibited degree relationship, but they do enters into the marriage between themselves. In such cases, that marriage will again be termed as a void marriage. Now, like that, those close relation like that are children of brothers and sisters, even if brothers and sister, and uh, uncle and nephew is there, aunt and niece is there. Now, these are certain relations where the marriage is completely prohibited due to the fact that they falls within the prohibited degree relationship. But one exception is there in this section 5 clause 4, that if the custom of the parties that permits certain marriage to be a valid marriage, if there exists certain custom between the parties, that even if the prohibited degree relations are there, but the custom provides for the validity of the marriage, now there is no such prohibition there. Now then, in that case, the marriage may be termed as a valid marriage. Now, next ground, that is that the parties, they are within the subinda relations. Now, if the parties, they are subinda to each other, again, subinda relation, they are certain close degree of relationship based on body or based on blood, you can say, or based on the offering of foods, oblation theory, what we say, where the food that is, or the pindan ceremonies, what we say, now pinds, they are offered to the departed ancestors. Now, if the parties, they fall within certain relations, subinda relations, again, if they perform the marriage within the subinda relationship, the marriage will be termed as a void marriage. Again, the same kind of exception is there if the custom of the parties that permits such marriage within such relations, then in that case, there is no such prohibition for entering into the marriage, and still the marriage will be termed as a valid marriage. Now, these are your three grounds on which a marriage can be declared as a void marriage. Now, coming to the voidable marriage now, the voidable marriage, they are dealt with section 12 of the Hindu Marriage Act. And section 12, now there are certain grounds on which a marriage can be termed as a voidable marriage. And the first ground in which a marriage can be termed as a voidable marriage, it is the non-consummation of the marriage due to impotency. Now, if the defendant or the respondent is uh, suffering from impotency due to physical reason or mental reason, whatever it is, and due to that fact, due to that impotency, the marriage is not consummated between the husband and wife after the solemnization of the marriage. Now, in that case, the petitioner is having a right to file a suit in the court of law for annulment of that marriage on that ground. And if the court finds that yes, due to the impotency, the marriage is not consummated between the spouses, so court can grant the relief or can annul that marriage on that ground, your first ground. Second is that the marriage that was in contravention of section 5 clause 2. Now, section 5 clause 2, that deals with the consent of the parties at the time of marriage. Now, first thing, it says that the parties to the marriage, they must be able to give a valid consent to the marriage. They must not be suffering from any kind of mental disorder so as to give a valid consent to the marriage. Now, only as per the Contract Act as well, only those persons can give a valid consent to the marriage who are of sound mind. And if any person is suffering from insanity, even if the consent is given by such person, that is not termed as a valid consent in the eyes of law. And if the consent that was given in the insanity state, now that is not termed as a valid consent in the eyes of law. And subsequently, the parties, they can approach the court for the annulment of that marriage on that ground. One thing. Secondly, it also says that if the consent of the parties that is obtained by fraud or by force. Now, consent, it must not be vitiated by fraud or force. And if the consent was taken by fraud or force, again the status of marriage will be termed as a voidable marriage. And as and when the parties, they comes to know that their consent was obtained by fraud or by force for the marriage, now after that discovery is made by the parties, now the court, they can file a petition in the court of law saying that their consent was obtained by fraud or force. So the marriage is voidable on that ground and the court should annul that marriage. And if the court find that yes, the fraud, that the consent was obtained by fraud or force, the court can grant a decree of void marriage or declare that marriage as void on that ground. But in this case, it is necessary that the parties, they must approach the court within 1 year of discovery of the fact that their consent was obtained by fraud or force. And if they approach the court after the lapse of 1 year time, now in that case, their petition might not be entertained by the court. And after the other ground on which a marriage can be termed as a voidable marriage is the pre-marriage pregnancy of the respondent. Now, obviously, we are talking about the wife here. Now, if the girl, she was pregnant at the time of marriage, there are certain conditions which needs to be, all these conditions needs to be fulfilled. Now, the first condition is that the wife was pregnant or the respondent was pregnant at the time of marriage. One thing. Secondly, that she was pregnant from a person other than the petitioner, other than the husband. Second thing. Then the petitioner was not known to this fact that she was pregnant at the time of marriage. He must be, unknown to this fact. And afterward, where the petitioner comes to know to this fact that she was pregnant and she was pregnant from any other person other than him at the time of marriage, now the marital intercourse between the husband and the wife, that must be suspended. And afterward, it is further necessary that the petitioner must approach the court within 1 year of the discovery of this fact that his wife was pregnant and she was pregnant from any other person other than him. So all these conditions, they needs to be fulfilled, only then the court will entertain the application and might pass a decree to that effect, annulling that marriage. Now, we'll also discuss now some of the difference between the void marriage and the voidable marriage. Now, what are those grounds on which the void marriage and the voidable marriage that differs from each other? And the first point of difference is in case of void marriage, the void marriage, they are considered to be void ab initio. They are void from the very beginning. As I have told you, that it is not regarded as a marriage at all in the eyes of law. So that is why it is void from the very beginning, void from the very inception of itself. On the other hand, the voidable marriage, they are considered to be a perfectly valid marriage unless and until it is avoided by the parties. This is one difference. Second is that in case of void marriage, since it is void from the very beginning, there is no decree of the court which is required for that purpose. The court just declared that a marriage is a void marriage on the basis of the factual circumstances. It won't pass a decree to that effect. But in case of voidable marriage, since it remains as a valid marriage, it is like a valid marriage in all forms. So it is necessary that to avoid that marriage or to annul that marriage, the court must pass a decree. Third is that any person can file a suit for the declaration of a void marriage in the court of law, including the parties. And the third person, some friend is there, some relative is there. So any person can approach the court that this marriage is a void marriage and a declaration should be passed by the court to that effect. But on the other hand, in case of voidable marriage, it is only and only the parties, either the husband or the wife, which will have to approach the court for the, for that effect, that annulment of that marriage. It is not any person other than the spouses which is having the, who is having the authority to approach to the court and annul that marriage on that ground. Next one is that in case of void marriage, since it is void from the very beginning, so no legal consequences that flows from such marriage. The parties, they are not regarded as husband and wife in the eyes of law. Further, their mutual rights and obligations towards each other, they are also not enforceable in the court as well. Like that, maintenance you talk about, or other family affairs you talk about. So one party cannot go to the court for the enforcement of their mutual rights and obligations, even if that is not done by the parties, by the other party, since for the simple reason that it is a void marriage and the court won't entertain their application. On the other hand, since voidable marriage, it is a perfectly valid marriage, so the all legal consequences that flows from such marriages, it will be termed as a valid marriage, and all parties will be having the status of husband and wife, and their mutual rights and obligation, they are also enforceable in the same manner as in case of a valid marriage. Lastly, in case of void marriage, there is no liability of the bigamy, even if the parties they goes through another marriage. Reason being that the first marriage, for the offense of bigamy, it is necessary that the first marriage should be a valid marriage. And during the subsistence of a valid marriage, if the parties perform another marriage, only then it is considered as an offense of bigamy. So there is no liability of the parties for bigamy in case of void marriage. Since the first marriage is a void marriage, that means it is no marriage in the eyes of law. And on the other hand, the voidable marriage, the liability of bigamy is there, because the marriage, even if it is a voidable marriage, so it is having all legal consequences. It is considered to be a valid marriage unless and until it is avoided. So if the parties they goes through the another marriage, now in that case, that will be, the parties will be guilty for the offense of bigamy. So that is it. This is it in this. This is the difference between the void marriage and voidable marriage.